Mason University, and got my undergraduate degree in conflict analysis and resolution. I was just kind of drawn to it, especially on an international level. Got to travel a little bit in college and saw some things that I wish I could change, right? And I wanted a good career. I wanted, a good income and a steady job. So I went ahead and applied for law school and got in. So I came back to Texas for law school, and law school is an interesting experience because it's essentially a full-time job. You're studying all the time. You're going to class all the time. It's hard to have a job while you're there. It's doable. I did it. But what I learned in law school is all of that theater training and all of that I had been exposed to is actually really helpful for becoming a lawyer, because it enables me to be able to kind of listen and communicate a little bit better, understand where people are coming from a little bit better. And I never thought I would get into a transactional practice like I'm in now. I thought I'd be in a courtroom performing, but that was not fun for me in the very beginning. And I found out that I could still apply all of those skills in a transactional practice. So I've been practicing for going on 6 years now, and it's been really great. I love where I'm at now. I love this community where our firm is at now. It's very important to me. And it's, every day is different in the practice of law. Every client is different. Every piece of property is different. Every corporate compliance issue is different. So it's a lot of fun, and it keeps me on my toes.
So you mentioned being in, a background of theater and drama, but whenever I look at TV, you turn it on, there's always like a lawyer show on or something that has to do with that. And it looks like it's really appealing, to me at least. Can you share, and I guess you also said that you aren't really in the courtroom, but were you at one point? And is it like a bit of acting, like when you're in there?
You 100% are acting. And one of my favorite kind of anecdotes about that is the movie Chicago, the musical Chicago, turned into a movie. There's a song, it's all about a murder trial, essentially, and these women who've gotten themselves in a little bit of trouble. And the lead attorney for one of the women puts on a song called Razzle-Dazzle. And it's all about razzling and dazzling the jury. You got to find a good jury. You got to be able to communicate with them and tell your story so that it impacts them and so that they want to judge in favor of your client. The same thing happens on the transactional side, phone calls, meetings, deal closings, all of that. It's a thing unto itself. It's a show, it's a project, and it has a performance, it has an end, and it's just, it's really fun.
So what is the best song on the Chicago soundtrack? Is it Razzle-Dazzle? I have my preference.
No, it's not. I don't think that's the best one. All That Jazz is kind of my favorite.
Yeah.
And I really, because I grew up dancing in theater, and so it's a Fosse musical. Bob Fosse is the choreographer. And so I really like the dancing and All That Jazz. I also like Cell Block Tango. That's an awesome song. What's your favorite song?
My favorite's Mr. Cellophane.
Oh, I love that song.
It's an underrated song,
good.
Underrated performance. Is that John C. Reilly? Is that who plays that?
John C. Reilly.
It's like one of the first times I ever saw him in anything. Was
really?
it in that? I think so. That movie, how long? That came out, I think I was in school. I was in high school. Maybe, yeah, when that came out.
It was a while ago. But that's actually one of the only movie musicals of recent times that I really enjoy. So, and I still haven't seen The Greatest Showman, but I need to do that.
Yeah, my little nephews, they are 3, and I have a daughter that's 3, and my kid, whenever the 3 of them get together, they really like it. I've never seen it, but I've walked in a room and walked out because I'm like, yeah, no, y'all can watch this.
I have a 3-year-old also, and maybe I need to watch it with him if he's gonna like it that
They
much.
can come and hang out with my daughter and my nephews. They can all and just put on their greatest show there together.
That would be perfect. We can start our own theater troupe.
That'd be fun. Yeah. So I met my wife. Well, I met her at school, but we really got to start to know each other in theater. I was a junior, and I guess she was a sophomore, and I joined, and that's whenever we did a one-act play together, and then found out that we really liked each other, and then it kind of just progressed from there. But I'm a big fan of theater too, and then I did it all senior year, and it was a lot of fun.
I didn't know that about you. That's awesome. I love that.
I wasn't good, but I did it, right?
okay. I was okay.
Really? Okay, you say that you were okay. Did you like go and do like district competitions and stuff? Did you rack up awards?
I actually, so I was born in Austin and I was in a really good troupe there. And then when it came time for high school, I found out about the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts in Houston. And I was living with my mom and she's a nurse. And so she asked me if I wanted to audition. And I said, yes, because I was very serious about being on Broadway when I grew up. And so I auditioned and I got into the dance department, but they do musicals throughout, the year. And so we moved down here and that's how I got to the Houston area.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I was just going to say it was a pretty intense, HSPVA is a great school. And I've always said I would love for my kids to go to that school because it's really amazing and great academic program as well. It spits out a lot of professionals as well. Not everybody goes into their art area, and a lot of us turn out to be in the corporate world somehow. So.
Mm-hmm. Right now it's 9:12. This is KHEARadio.com, 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart. I'm talking to Emily Krone. She is a local lawyer. So you said that you work in like the real estate and corporate law. Whenever I think of like a lawyer, it's always like just criminal defense. Can you specify like what is it that you get to work on?
Yeah, absolutely. So criminal defense is obviously a huge part of the practice of law. People need representation, and family law, a lot of people think of family law when they think of lawyers or just being in a courtroom. There's essentially two areas that you can get into. It's litigation or transactional. Litigation is that criminal defense, family law, being in the courtroom. Transactional is more of a paper practice. In my real estate practice, we help clients buy and sell commercial properties, get financing for commercial properties. And what we're doing is we're really just trying to, first of all, we help them document the transaction, so make sure they have all the correct documents. And then we also do a lot of risk analysis for our clients. We don't tell our clients what to do, but we look at the situation and we say, well, if you do this, that'll happen. If you do that, then this will happen. And we highly recommend that you go with this route because the risk does not outweigh the reward. And really what we try to do is problem solve for our clients. I know attorneys kind of get a bad rap sometimes, especially transactional attorneys, for being a little too conservative, a little too risk adverse, but it truly is an enjoyable practice because you get to kind of guide your clients through the world of whatever they're trying to do, whether it's buy and sell. Maybe they want to buy and sell a company. We do a lot of that too. So that's mergers and acquisitions. We do a lot of corporate compliance. So making sure that our clients' businesses are operating within the bounds of the law.
So is that, what you bring and offer, is that in place of a real estate agent or a broker, or do y'all work together?
I love working with brokers and agents. A lot of my referrals that I get are from agents. Agents are very, very competent at making sure, especially when you're talking about a residential property, you don't see a lot of attorneys involved because residential real estate is so highly regulated that there's not much that happens outside of the standard transaction, I guess, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. In commercial real estate, it's a little bit different because you're talking a lot about there's different aspects. There may be a development aspect where we're building a building and we need to work with the city. There's a leasing aspect where we're having to work with tenants. And then there's obviously the buy, sell, or working with a bank to get financing. So I really enjoy working with brokers and agents, especially the brokers and agents who just want the best for their clients, right? I mean, they just want to see them get what they want, which is exactly what I want. If my client wants to buy a piece of property, my goal is to help them do that in the most reasonable way possible, where they're protected and everybody can come to the table, get the deal done, and then walk away happy.
Yeah. I guess there's some transactions and deals where it's like, hey, there's a definite winner and then there's like a definite loser, Mm-hmm. But I guess is the goal to just make sure that everybody walks away and it's like, hey, I'm okay. This is good.
That's why I like transactional practice that much better than litigation. I feel like litigation can be very destructive. You're always trying to peel apart your opposing party's argument. Whereas in a transactional practice, you're really trying to construct something. My client wants to buy a piece of property. Your client wants to sell a piece of property. The bank wants to loan money for it. You need to borrow money for it. And so everybody wants something in this transaction. They're all going to get something out of it, as long as we can all work together and come up with creative solutions sometimes to get it done.
Yes. So is it during school, or whenever you start to practice, you decide, hey, I'm going to specialize in this version of the law or this aspect of the law?
It just depends on every person. I had friends in law school who went in knowing they wanted to be prosecutors, or knowing they wanted to work in-house at a company. So they are not part of a law firm. They're actually an employee of a company, and they're their legal department. I actually went into law school wanting to do international law because of the exposure I got in the DC area when I was in undergrad. And then when you get to law school, one of your main goals is to pass the bar, right? Mm-hmm. On the first try. And so you do a lot of studying of those core concepts of whatever state you're in. And so you get a lot of exposure to different areas. And I was open and receptive to whatever fancied me, right? Whatever I fancied. So at first I went into litigation, but then I realized that wasn't it. So it was even after law school that I realized that real estate and corporate law was what I wanted to do.
Cool. All right. So what kind of deals, I guess, locally have you been able to be a part of? And I guess, is it always local? Is there some things, I mean, on the other side of Texas? Texas is pretty big.
Yeah, Texas is big enough for one person's practice. Absolutely. Our firm actually does real estate and handles real estate and corporate matters all over the country, in Canada as well. And so when we're working out of state, we have a lot of other lawyers who we partner up with. They're called our local counsels, and they may help us with specifics of local law, but generally each of these transactions is the same. One of my favorite deals I got to do was I represented a lender to refinance one of the gun ranges nearby, and so here in Texas. And so that was kind of fun because I could actually drive out a ways and see the physical property that I was helping them buy and finance. So that was really fun. And then I became a member there and started practicing in their gun range every now and then. So yeah, it was a good experience.
That is pretty cool. That's cool. So I saw that you had posted on social media maybe a couple weeks ago now, where you were able to go and speak to a room full of real estate agents and brokers, and let them know, hey, I'm an attorney. I work, with this firm, and this is what we do. Almost in a way convincing them, let's work together. What is the name of that organization, and how did that go?
Well, it actually hasn't happened yet. It's tomorrow.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. So it's Krone. It's the Bay Area Commercial Real Estate Network. I actually just found out about Krone within the past year, and I haven't even been to that many meetings, but the meetings that I have been to it's a lot of brokers and a lot of agents, and then vendors who cater to real estate transactions, like lawyers or photographers or surveyors or environmentalists, people who are all involved in real estate. And what I loved about Krone was before the luncheon, all the brokers get together and talk about deals that they have going on with their clients. They have a piece of property that they have for sale, or they have a client who needs a certain piece of property, and they can really network that way. And I love that because that's where the deals happen, is right there. So I got really excited about Krone, and we haven't been able to meet in a couple months because of COVID. And this is going to be our first meeting back tomorrow. And they asked me to speak, which I was very honored by. And I didn't really know what I wanted to talk about. At first, I kind of thought, well, maybe I'll get into some specific legal issues and things like that. But I actually really also have a passion for convincing people that attorneys are not all bad. We get a bad rap. And like I said earlier, a lot of people in the real estate field, they want to kind of label attorneys as deal killers or too risk averse, or we take too much time to do things and we're too expensive and all that. So tomorrow I'm just going to be talking to the group kind of about, and it truly is just a passion. If nobody ever hires me, it's totally fine. I just want people to stop hating attorneys so much. Mm-hmm. And so I'll be talking to them about kind of the different ways in which attorneys can help on real estate deals, and kind of giving specific examples of how an attorney was able to, only an attorney, maybe no one else would have been able to do it if they weren't in that profession, how to get the deal done. What happened in this particular situation that the attorney helped with.
I blame TV. The bad reputation. Would you agree in part? I think part of it's just like TV.
I think it's TV, and it's also, it's your typical, the 1% give the 99% of us a bad name. And so there are good lawyers and bad lawyers out there. There's good and bad in every profession. And it's really just about trying to send a positive message out there as opposed to all the negativity that is out there. But TV makes a lot of sense. I mean, The Devil's Advocate, that movie did not do much good for my profession.
Is there a favorite like TV show or a movie lawyer that you have? They're like, that's my favorite. They're cool. Like, is there one that you watch on television on the screen?
I actually don't watch that much TV. I don't have any TVs hanging in my house.
That makes sense being a lawyer. Like that. That makes sense. I
don't want to see all that. But no, for about the past year and a half, I haven't put up any TVs, and I haven't really watched any lawyer shows. I do really like, I used to watch like Law and Order.
Yeah.
Special Victims Unit was one of my favorites. So it's really hard to watch them. Just like doctors and nurses, it's hard for them to watch medical shows. I grew up in a mostly medical family. And if we were watching ER or whatever it was, my parents were, that's not real. And that's not how it happens. And it's the same thing with attorneys and lawyer shows. It's hard for us to get through the movie without just shaking our heads like, no, that probably wouldn't have happened in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Because there's so many, like, and I guess if you're listening to this and you want to be a lawyer, or you have, maybe one of your kids or someone else go to law school, apparently you need to get rid of your TVs. Get rid of the TVs from the house. That's probably a good first step, and it'll set them on a better path. Maybe use their time a little bit more productively. But
yeah, when I was in law school, I used to, if like undergraduate students or high school students, and I still go and talk to some of the local kids on like career days about being a lawyer. And when I was in law school, I probably would have told them, don't do it, it's too hard and all that. As I've gotten away from the stress of test taking and all of that, and I've really gotten into more of like the customer and client oriented aspect to it, it's actually a really great profession. And the best thing about law school is just because you go to law school doesn't mean you have to be a practicing lawyer. You can do a lot with a law degree. And one of my favorite things about law school is it teaches you how to think a little bit differently, how to be a little more analytical. And, you look at the facts, the law, and you apply the law to the facts and figure out what's going to happen, what's likely going to happen, so that you can advise your clients. It's a really great profession. It's stressful and it's high stakes generally, and your client is trusting you. You're a fiduciary to your client, meaning you have the utmost highest standard that you have to abide by. And it's those attorneys that don't do that give the rest of us a bad name, but we'll figure it out.
Do you know State Representative Mays Middleton?
Yes.
Yeah,
not personally, but
okay. Yeah, he's really nice. I've interviewed him multiple times, and he went to law school with the intention of never practicing, if I remember accurately. But because running his family's business and all that, he wanted to be able to have a better grasp of everything, and so I always thought that was a really cool thing.
I always love when I meet business owners who have a Juris Doctorate degree, who went to law school but don't practice, because we can kind of communicate on that level also. Mm-hmm. But they're also, the ones that I've met have been very successful, great people, great clients to work with too. So it's a very versatile path to choose. It's not a cheap one, but it's not an easy one. It's versatile.
Yeah. Emily, is there anything else you'd like to share while you're on today?
I hope everybody's doing well during these hard times. I know we're all trying to find our path and figure out what the future is going to look like. I'm really proud of our firm, of how we've handled it. I'm really thankful that my family's been there for me, to help watch my kiddo while I've been having to work from home. And, our community, we've stuck together pretty good. And I'm really proud to live, work, play in League City in this area. And I'm really thankful that you had me on, Gardy. It's great.
Yes, thank you, Emily. Hey, be blessed. Have a good day, okay?
Thank you so much.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.